I've been building my own kingdom for everyone to see. It exists to keep me safe from harm, and it's intact to glorify me. Nobody helped me build this up. It was me and me alone. I've appointed myself as the king, and I've given myself the throne. But it turns out I'm no ruler, and I have no control. So I have decided to destroy it all. I'm tearing down the walls, kicking down the doors. Everything inside this kingdom is yours. 'Cause what I've made is worthless, and it cannot stand. Come and breathe some life into my empty, cold, dead hands. Down with the fickle king, away with this fantasy. You are the one I need. Death to the kingdom of me. Death to the kingdom of me. I should probably be frightened. This empire's all I know, but it always does more damage than good. I'm afraid it's gotta go. I know that I can't be trusted, 'cause I'm just a man. And if you hadn't given your life for me, a loser would be all that I am. You know they say just follow your heart. I'm afraid that's a load of trash. Your heart will take you down to deep, dark places where you feel like you'll never come back. So I'm coming out of the dark. This facade is... I woke up feeling like it was time to tighten up. Yeah. I woke up feeling like it.
What's going on, everybody? Don't look now, but it's episode 207 of the Two Tone Talk by God Pod. It is January the 12th, 2026, and we are here after a weekend of wild card NFL action. And for the Tennessee Titans, it is coaching interview action with lots of interesting stuff going on. We've got the full list of candidates, of people that the Titans have brought in for interviews. John Harbaugh still TBD because he's not started to take interviews until this week, but I assume the Titans will have an interview set up with him very soon. So what are you thinking? What are you thinking, Titans fans? Who do you think we realistically have a shot at? Out of all of these candidates, whether we've interviewed them yet or not, who do you think the Titans realistically have a shot at landing to be their next head coach? And will we find out as soon as this week? I mean, to me, I feel like, personally, John Harbaugh at this point is going to be the first shoe to drop. I think everybody's waiting to see where John Harbaugh lands, because that's the biggest name. And once he lands somewhere, then I think you'll start seeing the other names start trickling in. I don't know if the Titans have a legitimate shot at John Harbaugh or not. I think I'm not going to say they have a strong chance, but they don't have no chance. there's people out there today putting out these reports suggesting that it's between the Giants and the Falcons as to where John Harbaugh is going to go be the next head coach. It's between the Giants and the Falcons. And maybe the Titans are the third option behind those teams. I don't buy that. That feels like a report to me that is based strictly on speculation. That is somebody who sat down and said, what makes the most sense to me? Well, the Giants are in New York. They've got a pretty good roster. The Falcons, they've probably got the best roster other than the Ravens of any of these teams. And then the Titans are the Titans. Who cares about them? That's what makes sense to them, and so that's the report they put out. But I don't buy that. The Falcons don't have a first-round pick in 2026, and they have a major question mark at quarterback. So I don't buy that report that's like, well, it's pretty much between the Giants and the Falcons and nobody else stands a chance. I don't buy that. I think John Harbaugh will interview with the Titans this week, and there has to be, if these reports are true, that John Harbaugh spent the weekend watching film on Cam Ward and Jackson Dart as well. That means there has to be at least some modicum of interest from John Harbaugh in the Titans, or else he wouldn't even bother watching any of Cam Ward's film. So I do think the Titans have a shot of landing John Harbaugh. Now, is it a strong shot? Do they need to just hang their hat on that? Do any of us need to just hang our hat on, obviously, the Titans are going to get Harbaugh? No. I think they need to do everything they can to get him. I think they need to do everything they can. But for right now, swing for the fences, but you need to have other options lined up, and they do. They've interviewed 16 people for this job. To put it in context, when the Titans hired Ken Wisenhunt, they only interviewed 4 people. When they hired Mike Mularkey, they only interviewed 4 people. When they hired Mike Vrabel, they only interviewed 3 people. And when they hired Brian Callahan, they interviewed 10 people. They've interviewed 16 people for this job. So you hear a lot of talk about casting a wide net and we're going to do our due diligence. The Titans are doing that. And if you're watching on YouTube, be sure to click the like button. They've interviewed plenty of people. And although it started rough, it has gotten better, and they've got a lot of good candidates that they are interviewing. So I'm going to go through the playoff games that I watched and the playoff game that is still to come tonight and tell you how each of these can relate to the Tennessee Titans, because it is possible. First of all, the first was Panthers-Rams. The way this relates to the Titans is that I think a top 5 candidate for this job is Chris Shula, the defensive coordinator for the Rams. And I think Chris Shula, if you're going to hire a first-time head coach, Chris Shula is obviously the guy to hire out of those options. So Chris Shula was coaching in that game. It was a close game. It was a great game. All credit to the Panthers. They made a game of it. But, I thought to have Chris Shula out there, and now he can be interviewed this week, that's something you watched for if you're a Titans fan. I also think if you're a Titans fan and you want to know how that Panthers-Rams game can relate to you, look at what the Panthers have done in just a couple of years. I mean, the Panthers were horrible 2 years ago. Everybody gave up on Bryce Young because he got benched last year. But you know what? The Panthers, I know they backed their way into it, but they were a playoff team this year. They fought with the Rams. They hung in there with the Rams. And Bryce Young, I think, showed enough that you can come back with him next year and build around him. Bryce Young, I don't think, has ever shown you as much as Cam Ward did in just one season. But Bryce Young, in spite of the fact that he didn't show much at all his rookie season or the next season, he's starting to turn a corner a little bit. You're starting to see something from him. That gives you hope. And then that brings me to the Packers-Bears game. I have said it, 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 and I will say it again. Things turn around quick in the NFL. You can go from zero to hero quick. A team can go from horrible top 5 pick in the draft to in the playoffs, winning playoff games in one off season. And the Chicago Bears are proof of that. People were already giving up on Caleb. People were already throwing in the towel on the Bears. They're just going to be the same old Bears forever. And look at them now. Do you see that stadium in Chicago the other night going nuts for their hometown Bears? Caleb Williams getting the place pumped up. They got the right coach. The coach helped the quarterback. They've got good pieces there. And now all of a sudden, not only are they in the playoffs, but they're winning playoff games. Things turn around quick, and the Chicago Bears are just more proof. And you could say, well, the Bears weren't in as bad of a position as the Titans are. Bull. That is bull. The Bears were the laughing stock. People were already throwing in the towel on Caleb, just like a bunch of y'all want to already throw in the towel on Cam. But you know what? They got the right coach. Coaching matters, and we'll talk more about that when we get to these Sunday games in a second. But if you want hope for the Titans, look no further than the Bears. Bears. And also, what you can take away from that Packers-Bears game, Matt LaFleur might be let go as the Packers coach. I'm leaning toward probably not, but there's at least a chance. They put out today that they're working on a deal with him. He's only got 1 year left on his contract. If you listen to the Packers fans, I'm reading X right now to see if I'm looking to see if anybody has said anything new about that, and they haven't. They're working on a deal with Matt LaFleur, but I'm telling you, man, that was the way the Packers had to lose for Matt LaFleur to be let go. And if he's let go, he needs to be number one priority for the Titans, even higher than Harbaugh. I don't think it's going to happen, but if it was going to happen, the way they lost the other night was how they had to lose. That's how they lost. So just keep your eye on that. So in the Panthers-Rams game, you see a beacon of hope in the Panthers for the Titans, and you saw a potential head coaching candidate in Chris Shula as defensive coordinator for the Rams. In the Packers-Bears game, the Bears are a beacon of hope for the Titans, and the Packers might let Matt LaFleur go. Now we go to Sunday with the Bills and the Jaguars. The takeaway here is that the Jaguars lost and are eliminated from the playoffs. That's the first takeaway. That's good. We enjoy that, yes. But also, I'm going to give the Jaguars credit while laughing at them because they got eliminated, and I thought Trevor was terrible. Not terrible, but not good enough at all. I thought Trevor was quite bad. It was one of the key reasons they lost. But beyond that, once again, if you want an example of things turning around quick in the NFL, things happen quick. You can go from laughingstock to playoff team quick. Look no further than Jacksonville. They were 4-13 last year. Top 5 pick. But they hired, in my opinion, a good coach in Liam Cohen. They did everything they needed to do to get him. And all of a sudden, they're 13-4. Losing by 3 to Buffalo in the wild card round. Now, that's not good enough. You want to win in the playoffs, but man, that's a big jump for Jacksonville from last year to this year. 4-13, top 5 pick last year to all of a sudden 13-4 winning your division this year? Holy cow, man. Look no further than that. You don't even have to look far. You can look in your own division and see how fast things can turn around in one offseason with hiring the right coach. Getting the right coach. Coaching matters. And on that note, let's go to the Eagles 49ers game where coaching matters. The San Francisco 49ers are a hospital. They are a hospital. George Kittle tore his Achilles. They got defensive players out all over the place. They are limping, not even limping into this game. They are in a full body cast on the road against the defending world champions. And who won? The 49ers did. Because coaching matters. Kyle Shanahan may be the best coach in the NFL. I know Vrabel's done a great job. I know there are other coaches that have done a great job. But for my money, Kyle Shanahan should be the coach of the year. Because what he has done with these injuries, the fact that he has this team playing the way they are, winning playoff games, and go look, and now with Kittle out, and they beat the defending world champions on the road in the playoffs, that, you want to tell me coaching doesn't matter? That's why I'm high on Matt LaFleur if he becomes available. Malik Willis looked like he couldn't even play quarterback when he was here. Then he goes to Green Bay, and he's probably going to be getting paid and starting somewhere next year because coaching matters. Chicago, laughingstock last year. Now they're a playoff team, winning playoff games, and who knows how far they'll go because Ben Johnson's their coach, and coaching matters. Jacksonville, top 5 pick, laughingstock last year. Now they're a playoff team, 13-4. They win their division. Why? Because Liam Cohen's a good coach, and coaching matters. I could go all day. San Francisco, a hospital. They're playing. Listen, Buffalo is in there with Brandon Cooks catching passes. You want to talk about injuries? I need to give Buffalo their credit too. Buffalo's winning playoff games, and they're a hospital. Now, with Buffalo, it might be more about Josh Allen, but still. In San Francisco, though, Mr. Irrelevant at quarterback. You got guys. There was a dude playing tight end for them yesterday, or wasn't tight end, it was wide receiver for the 49ers. They were like, dude, this guy hadn't caught a pass in 4 years. And they got him out there playing in a playoff game and winning. Coaching matters. And that brings me to another 49ers coach, not just Kyle Shanahan. Let's talk about Robert Saleh. And we better talk about him, Titans fans, because with Harbaugh coming onto the scene, with Stefanski coming onto the scene, and McCarthy's there, and now Mike McDaniel is there, and Brian Flores, there's a lot of talk about him. Listen, Robert Saleh deserves another shot to be a head coach in this league. What Robert Saleh has done with that 49ers defense this year is phenomenal because that's where the brunt of their injuries are. So I'm just telling you right now, Robert Saleh, to me, remains a top 5 option at head coach for the Titans. That guy deserves another shot. That guy deserves another shot. He is coaching his rear end off in San Francisco. And then, if you're going to talk about the 49ers-Eagles game, you got to talk about the A.J. Brown of it all. Now, first of all, do I think it is likely that the Eagles could have a head coaching opening coming in the next couple of days? I don't think it's likely, but I also don't think it's impossible. That roster is too good to be one and done in the playoffs and look as bad as they have. And I do think Nick Sirianni's leash is a lot shorter, but I don't think they're going to fire him now. I think they'll give him another year. A.J. Brown, though, looked unhappy, got into it with Sirianni on the sideline. A.J. Brown has, let's just be honest, A.J. Brown has looked miserable in Philadelphia all year. I can't think of one time when I have watched the Eagles this year where A.J. Brown looked glad to be there. He looks unhappy from the moment I see him to the moment he goes back in the locker room. Now, that's got Titans fans saying, is it time for a homecoming? Here's the thing. I do think it is very realistic that A.J. Brown will not be with the Eagles when they take the field in 2026. I think it is very possible that A.J. doesn't want to be there anymore. I just doubt he's coming back here. I doubt that A.J.'s coming back here. There are, outside of us and the Eagles, there are 30 other teams in this league, and all of them would love to have A.J. Brown. Now, I'd love to have him with Cam, but that just feels like the fever dream of all fever dreams. A.J. Brown's not coming back to Nashville. It's not even something worth talking about right now. But I do believe it's very realistic that he will not be with the Eagles next season. He just looks miserable. So, 49ers-wise, you need to look at Saleh. You need to look at how much coaching matters. And sure, Talk about A.J. Brown if you want. Then you get to last night with the Chargers and the Patriots. Dear God. Mike Vrabel's the savior of the world. He's the greatest guy ever. He's cured every disease. He's the person of the year. Not even the coach of the year. He's just the human of the year. He can do no wrong. Boy, he's just the best, you know. But regarding the Chargers, I'm about sick of watching them. I'm about sick of watching them make the playoffs. The Chargers, these Chargers right now, they are literally the Andy Dalton Bengals and the Matt Schaub Texans. That's all they are. They are a team that nobody believes in, that always makes the playoffs and gets bumped easily in the first round. That's who the Chargers are right now. So, I'm sick of the Chargers. Sick of it. Sick of watching them in the playoffs. Now, Vrabel heads to the divisional round, and he's got to play either the Steelers or the Texans. I'm just telling you, man, he's probably going to win. Well, if it's the Steelers, they'll win. The Texans could give him trouble. But it's going to be really tough for me if it's the Texans versus the Patriots next week, because I don't want to see either one of them in the AFC Championship game, and one of them's got to win. But yeah, Vrabel won. I put up a video days ago. I was wrong about Vrabel. They shouldn't have fired him. And then one more, and then I'll give my prediction about who my guess is to be the Titans coach as of right now. The Steelers-Texans play tonight. Here's a game that matters to the Titans because, first of all, you want to see the Texans lose. I mean, I don't want to see the Texans going far in the playoffs at all. So I'd like to see the Texans lose tonight. But also, if the Chargers, or excuse me, I looked down and saw the word Chargers. If the Steelers lose, I think it becomes very likely that Mike Tomlin could be let go, and there's another huge coaching name that could hit the market right there. So just be looking out for that tonight. Either the Texans lose and your rival is out, and that's good, or the Steelers lose and Mike Tomlin could be available within the next couple of days to be your next head coach. Something to look for tonight. As far as the Titans and who they have lined up right now, I'm sure they'll interview Harbaugh this week. I know they're going to interview Mike McDaniel this week. I know they're going to interview Mike McCarthy this week. My guess right now is McCarthy. I think it's McCarthy for now because I don't feel like there's a big level of interest in McCarthy from a lot of these other teams. And if the Giants were to get Harbaugh and the Falcons were to get Stefanski, you know, McCarthy, who seemed like the top candidate in many people's eyes initially, he gets bumped down. He gets bumped down a few. He gets bumped down with every big candidate that comes out there. So right now, my gut is going McCarthy to the Titans. But that can change. Of course it can change. For right now today, though, on Monday, January 12th, I'm leaning McCarthy. Because I think the Titans are just going to want to go with a safe bet. They want to go with the safest bet they can to try to get this thing going in the right direction. And I think, you know, they'll take a swing at Harbaugh and Stefanski, but outside of them, I think McCarthy is the safest bet. So I'm going to say McCarthy for right now. But we'll see. I want to know how long this process is going to go, because you've got combine coming up. You got scouting that's got to happen, then free agency draft. I mean, you got to get somebody in here. This is the case for all of these teams that have fired their head coach. The sooner you get somebody in here, the better. Now, you don't need to just rush through it, but you got a lot of things to do. You know, the season, people think, oh, the season's over, so right now it's just dead time. Like, no, they're going to start scouting hard for the draft in February. That's just in a few weeks. They're going to start scouting hard. You got to spend all of February doing that, and then March, free agency starts, and you got to know where you stand and who you're targeting. And then in April's the draft. So it never ends. I mean, it just starts over. That's why we love it, right? That's why we love football, because all throughout the year, we have our things that we do, and it's our traditions. So for the Titans and all of these other teams, they've got to get these coaches lined up and get them in here because you got to get to work immediately. And in Tennessee, there's a lot to do. Over $100 million in cap space, top 5 draft pick. There's a lot to do here. So, I mean, this week, next week, I mean, they're not interviewing McCarthy till Saturday, so it's probably not going to be this week. But I would anticipate next week there's going to have to be some guys getting hired. Going to have to be. So stay tuned in to Two Tone Talk because I'm going to be talking about it every day until something happens. I'll end it with this. This user said, I'm sure you've already addressed it, but any news on LaFleur? All I've heard this morning is that they're working toward a deal with him. They're working toward a deal with him, but they don't know. So who knows? I didn't think Harbaugh would actually be fired deep down, but he was. So we'll see. Exciting time. It's more exciting than the season for the Titans. This offseason's more exciting than that. Tighten up, everybody. Have a good day. Bye.